Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
This is an exciting seminar. Oh gosh, is it a seminar? Well, it will be. By the time you get done with this amazing authority today, Danielle Hutchinson, because there's so much content, you're going to want to take out your pen and pencil or a pad of paper and write this down, or type it or text it, whichever. Take notes, because she's going to cover and dispense information that is valuable for you as a speaker, author, coach, or consultant who wants to learn, how to put all this into play and also live the life that you may want to live. And her career is very close to my heart, because after working and running a big ad business for many years and having too many employees to count, I broke off and became a digital nomad. And Danielle personifies the digital nomad lifestyle. Now, she's in New Jersey, but tell us about where you've been. And by the way, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to know that you're excited about the show, and I think I have a lot to offer here, insights about how to turn your ideas into books that can not only promote your brand, but your legacy and so on and so forth. So yeah, where to begin? I started off as a teacher, and then recently I just decided, let me get into freelancing. I started doing ghostwriting and editing, which is something that I've always been passionate about. Of course, since a little girl, loved to read, loved to write. I was able to turn it into something that not only helped me to expand my reach and my career, but just thrive in life in general. So yeah, to answer your question, the last couple of summers, every time I have time to, I go out with my boyfriend, we travel the world, I bring my laptops. It's just us and a backpack each, and his backpack has my 3 laptops in it, and I'm just
He's the mule, huh? He gets to
a little bit. Yeah, I have the clothes and the makeup. He has the technology, and
Okay, well, it works then.
It works. Yeah, no, but last summer we went all around Europe and Asia. This year we're planning on going to South America, so it's a lot of fun. And the best part is, we're so blessed to have just a job where we can both work asynchronously, and with technology these days, time zones don't matter, so we're able to pop on to whatever it is we need and also explore. So it's wonderful. It's a great way to live, and I highly recommend, if you're able to do the same thing, anybody listening, give it a try.
Well, I'm a fan of it, because I've lived in 7 different countries and have visited 63 in my life, and there's more that I want to tick as far as my list. In the pandemic, put aside some of those goals, but it'll get resurrected. I love what you do, and I believe you're passionate about what you do. So why don't you just give us the view today from what you offer with Authors on Mission, and what is your charge, Danielle?
Yeah, so, Authors on Mission is an exciting platform where, if you have an idea for a book and you need a little bit of help getting it out there, we're the place to go, whether it be because you're just a little bit too busy, your schedule is packed because maybe you're busy running a business or running a family or whatever it might be. We help you find the time to do it by, perhaps you want to work with an angel writer, which is our version of a ghost writer, or maybe you just already have a manuscript ready to go and you just need some editing, some final touches. Whatever stage you might be at, we're able to help you get it to where it needs to go. So through my services, through our services, we're very flexible, and it's really personalized to whatever it is you might need. So I guess that's a good overview.
Well, and you also, what's interesting is getting the work done. That's the key. A lot of people, the old adage is there's a book in the head of everyone.
Right.
Getting it on paper and getting it done. I think there are more college graduates than there are authors. Yet writing a book can be much more impactful in someone's career than they're even aware of. because you have a let's just call it a credibility verifier when you write a book. If you're talking about being credible in your field and you've written a book, you now have the stamp. It's there. Even becoming an Amazon bestseller is better than having no bestseller status, as a writer and doing all of these things. So do you provide an Amazon bestseller campaign for your authors?
We do. And to branch off of what you said, I definitely agree. I always like to make this comparison. If you were speaking with a client trying to get their business, do you think they're going to go with the person whose book they just finished reading or somebody who doesn't even have a book at all, right? Um, it's a whole amplification for your credibility and your noteworthiness.
The
That's
biggest differentiator.
Exactly, exactly. So it sets you apart. Not only that, but like just imagine being able to hand your book to a prospective client or somebody who just happened to me, and instead of a business card, they have a, 250-page wealth of your knowledge right there to get a good idea. It's the best resume you could think of. All that being said, though, we do offer Amazon bestseller guarantees. We have a great system where, once we get it out there through marketing and strategic placement, we're able to get you that title depending on the packages you go with and all that. But it starts from the beginning. It starts from the planning process, figuring out, okay, what's going to be the most marketable, who's your audience, what's your message, all that. So by working with our team, we're able to get you there. And it goes much beyond just the Amazon bestsellers too, because with us, we also, help you get on podcasts. We help you get on TED Talks and so much more, which goes actually aligns a lot with what you do also, Mitch, helping people just have other ways to spread their message. A lot of people think once they have their book on the shelves, that's it. And people, just wait for people to buy it. You can't wait for people to buy it. You need to actively keep promoting it and keep it living so that others find it and get engaged with it.
Yeah, and getting on stages. Do you offer that, or is that a different program?
No, we do offer opportunities for TED Talks and speaking engagements. It all matter. It all That's kind of the stage that comes after the publication, of course, but we do offer that. I personally help to coach those who are scheduled and ready to go on. I've been working with a lot of people with, they're getting ready to get on a podcast, for example. What are we going to talk about? How do you frame your story to best promote your book while also staying relevant to that particular show's theme or message, that sort of thing. So we're not
And
only
their
helping
audience.
and their audience, that too. Yes, yes. You need to make sure you're speaking to them and not just actively saying, buy my book.
Sure,
Um,
sure. Yeah.
so
No, go ahead. Yeah. It makes them
uh,
want it versus, yeah, pushing it down their throat.
exactly. And that's a whole nother skill set as well. So yeah, we not only offer bookings, but also guidance to getting there.
So if they don't want to hire a ghostwriter, but they're going to access you for all the marketing, because that's key. One thing is ticking the box of getting a book written. And the biggest challenge that I've seen with authors over the years, because I've written quite a few books myself, is the marketing. That seems to be the headache for a lot of authors, but you provide that solution. So what is a program that they can use in order to write their own books? Because I think that's, something you talk about.
I'm sorry. So the ghostwriting, is that what you're referring
Yes,
to?
yes. What's the
Yeah,
tool or technique to make the writing process easier?
right. Well, when you're working with a ghostwriter, it's really just about getting to know them and having that relationship where you both have the same vision in mind. It's about getting to know what your message is, who your audience is, and then once you're aligned with that, it's really just a breeze because from the ghostwriter's perspective at least, it helps me to know exactly where each chapter is going, make sure you're staying on message, staying aligned. So it's about the communication, and of course, the more you get to know your client, the more you pick up on their mannerisms, the way they speak, the phrases that you use most often, and that helps you better establish their voice in the text too. Hope that answers your question. I'm not sure if that was exactly what you were going for, but that's what, the best techniques for angel writing or ghost writing would be, I would say.
Well, this leads to my next question, and a critical one and a timely one. AI. Can someone
Uh,
write a book with Chat GPT today and get away with it?
so the funny thing is, I'm a ghostwriter, I'm an editor, but one service that a lot of people have been coming up to me for recently is humanization. So people have been using AI to write their books. And let me tell you, you know right off the bat, at least if you're in the industry, because there's these phrases that nobody else uses. Who says delve? Who says a rich tapestry of experience? Like these phrases that AI just throws out there, it doesn't make sense. So, no, a lot of
Unlock, unlock.
yeah, let's unlock this next section of the book where you can explore the possibilities. No one talks like
No.
that. So yeah, no, people have been trying to use AI to write their books. It's a great tool. It's great for planning the book, for outlining, for idea generation. I use it sometimes like I need to think of a sentence like this. What are some ways I can phrase it? Simple things like that. But just to say, write me a book about finance. Okay, it's not quite the same. So what I do is I help to humanize it. I add a personal touch. Um, I make sure that it doesn't. What I do also do is try to make it past the AI detectors too, which is a whole nother thing, which is a little bit more challenging to do. But throughout that whole process, and I can get into more specifics if you like, I'm able to help make it more human. But to answer your question that you started this with, it's possible to use those tools. You just have to use it strategically.
Well, and one of the things when I've written quite a few articles that are up on my website, and we would run things through because I have a staff in the Philippines, and even though they speak English well, it's not their native language. I've had them
Mm.
run it through Grammarly. Do you use Grammarly? Is that one of your go-to tools?
I do recommend Grammarly. It's been amazing, actually. You do
Mhm.
need to use it with discretion because there are times when even Grammarly does mistake a certain sentence. For
Yes.
example, personal error on my end. I was editing somebody's manuscript and they were talking about copy, like email copy. And, Grammarly doesn't realize that. So it kept wanting to say like the copy or copywriting and changing that phrase when really it's just supposed to be copy. So just as one example. So you do need to have discretion with using any technology tool. That being said, though, Grammarly honestly is perfect. It picks up on things that I think at a first glance any editor, even the best one, might not notice at first, especially when it comes to active voice versus passive voice, things like that. So, no, it is good. I recommend it.
And the key though with these tools, I look at it as a tool, not as the be all end all. You still
Hmm.
need a human to look
Yes.
at, just as you mentioned, copy. There are small distinctions, which are giveaways that this was maybe aided by a robot. A robot will not get some of these nuances being a native speaker. And I've noticed that with these tools. I'm sure you have your own way of detecting, but it's an example like that. So it is a tool, not the end all. It still requires a human being with a blood type that works for writing.
Yeah, I mean, at least at this stage in our lives now, who knows 20 years from now what it's going to be like, but I do hope and I believe that, humans are going to adapt to it in a way that, we learn from it and we become more advanced by leveraging these technologies to our advantage rather than relying on them, if that makes sense. By, using AI to assist with our books, it better amplifies the quality if you're doing it correctly. You
Sure.
know, um, Using it to check for errors, for example, using it to make sure you're not being repetitive, that sort of thing. It's always beneficial from the editing standpoint, at least. But again, you need that uh, the human glaze over it to make sure that it's not being too robotic.
Yes, another set of eyes. Now,
Another set of eyes, yeah.
how do you make somebody media ready?
Mm. Yeah, see, that's another good question because that's something that you are directly involved in also with everything that you do. So, yeah, I think from the beginning, you do have to think, is my book going to be a strong book, but also is it going to be media ready? It's a huge factor because, like we talked about before, you don't want your book to just sit on the shelves, go unpurchased. It has to be something that people actually want to read. So it requires a lot of strategic packaging. A good book has, goes into a subject, it connects emotionally, it tells a good story, but to kind of amplify it to the next edge, I always make sure my clients have a little bit extra, a clear hook. A timely angle, what's going on in the world right now, what's going to best catch people in the media. You need visuals and sound bites that make it easy for people to talk about it. If you need to make sure that journalists, influencers, podcast hosts have something to grab on and latch onto also. So that's just one example. It's putting in those little extra flares that make it stand above the rest. And I think out of all of that, definitely the timeliness is huge too. Thinking how can you make it relatable to what's happening here and now? So that's a
Do
whole
you
other aspect.
believe all authors should have a podcast?
I wouldn't say they necessarily have to have one, but I do advocate for getting on one is huge. It allows you a chance to talk about your book. Hosting your own, maybe, maybe not. Depends on what your topic is.
Do you suggest people guest before they become the owner of the mic?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would say that you do, it helps to get some experience. Getting to know what other guests are already doing. Sorry, what other hosts are already doing, what questions are common to ask. That definitely gives you the experience.
How many podcasts should they have for a book? Should they guest on before they?
I'd say that number is arbitrary. It depends on what you're able to find. For example, what you don't want to try to fit yourself into a podcast that might not be right for you, is what I'm trying to say. So it does depend on uh, what's out there. I recommend maybe scoping it out, making a list of the top five that you think are best for your topic, and then making that your goal. If you're in a niche topic, you want to make sure that you're speaking to that particular audience. So I would say just based on that. It's the same way I always tell writers, like, don't try to make your book 80,000 words if it doesn't have to be. Focus on what your actual topic is. If it's shorter, then it's shorter. If you're not on as many podcasts, there are not as many podcasts, but it's about reaching the right audience rather than that. At least I would say. Would you agree with that, Mitch? I mean, please let me
Um,
know.
well, I'm trying to think because you folks offer podcast placement as
We do.
guests, I presume. What do you offer? How many?
So I don't think there's not a set number, but we do offer at least a few depending on what you're able to be booked onto. That being said, it is just subjective. It depends on what your package is and what your book's all about.
I would
So
say a
for
minimum of
my
five.
I would agree with that. A minimum of five is a good one. For my end, just in particular, I do offer the coaching. I'm not directly involved with the booking themselves, just candidly letting you know that. That's why I couldn't quite say that right off the bat, but we do have an amazing team and they're great with connecting the guests to the hosts themselves.
Yeah, just because there's one thing about the marketing meeting is you run the podcast yourself for Authors on Mission. I
I
was a
do.
guest on your show, which was great, and we were able to go down great rabbit holes together. And I'm an author. I didn't talk about my books per se on this interview because I'm more focused on media because I know the marketing is the pain point for most authors. That's why I'm asking the questions related to that. Should they
Yes.
also be in written publications?
How so? So journals?
Uh, getting coverage in Forbes optimally or Entrepreneur
Hmm.
Press. Are you a fan? Is that part of what would cause an author to be known? Because it's all about exposure. So they can then book speaking engagements and or become a guest on a podcast.
So when it comes to Forbes or Inc. magazine or Entrepreneur magazine, any of those, I would say yes, reach is part of it, but more so that adds to your credibility. I mean, to say I have a book, but I'm also, as seen in Forbes is another kind of like sticker you can put like right on the cover of your book. So I do recommend that. I've personally, on the side, worked with clients and helped them write their blog articles and get it onto those websites because it does have to be done in a very specific manner. So that is something I would highly recommend. And if you're having trouble with it, you can reach out to us and we offer a little bit of guidance with that. I do agree that the more places your name is featured, it only continues to benefit you as an author or as a brand or whatever it is that your goal might be. It's the more known you are these days, the better.
And should you be selective about where you place yourself? I listened to a podcast yesterday, a man that he's interviewed 6,000 people. That's a
Mm.
huge podcast number over 9 years. And you can appreciate that being a podcast host yourself. And his point was well received. He is careful today because of his status as a podcast host to take pictures with people with whom he knows and has a relationship, not just arbitrary people. So he's quite selective of who he gets interviewed by, and making sure that that person cannot harm his status. What do you feel about that?
And that kind of ties right into what I was mentioning before about how many podcasts you're on. Like I mentioned, it's great to get your name out there. It's, you want to get it spread out, whether it be on, Inc. magazine or whatever, like we talked about before. But when it comes to things like podcasts, where you're directly talking about your book, specifically talking about your book, it should be more towards your audience. You don't want to get onto a business podcast if your book is about yoga and self-help, right? It's not necessarily aligned. So you do want to make sure that it is a good match. And that you made a great example about that one host. It's one thing to have your name everywhere, but another thing to have your name in the right places. That makes
And
sense.
to take photos with the right people that can help you leverage your brand. And like I
Yeah,
mentioned, yoga, if you have a book on sales, there's a little bit of a mismatch because
yeah,
they,
exactly.
nah, sales, no, I like to be in a down dog position. And I don't know if that's real salesy.
Yeah, not quite, not down dog at least. But what I would say to that though is one thing when I'm coaching people to have their speaking engagements or to get on the podcast, one thing that I focus on is making sure that even if your book isn't 100% aligned with the show's topic, you can still have a conversation with that host and segue into your book later on based on another topic. If you're trying to match the yoga with the business sales, one thing they do have in common is customers, for example, right, or their clients or their brands. That's another just topic they can speak of and then relate it back to their book. Just trying to find segues that is relevant to the show in order to kind of hook your audience, get them interested in who you are, what you have to say, and then, hey, by the way, if you're interested in a little bit more about this, here's my book on yoga. As an example. Then again, it really just depends on that strategic placement and how the conversation goes.
So, Authors on Mission has its own podcast, of which you are the
Yes.
host for. How do they get in touch with you? Do they just go to Authors on Mission and then sign up to become a guest,
So we
or
do
apply?
that. I'm sorry?
Or apply?
Yeah, you would have to apply. You'd have to reach out because, as you mentioned, we are selective about who gets onto our show. We want to make sure that you do have a book already out, that it does have some ratings. We can't just allow everybody on. We need to make sure that it's, going to be a great conversation just because we have a lot of people who want to come onto the show. So if you want to be on our show specifically, I would say to head to authorsonmission.com. We have a box where you can schedule a consultation, and from there we could help you out, whether it is for the podcast particularly, or if you're interested in doing ghostwriting, editing, marketing, we have so much to offer. So the first step is just head over to our website and get that consultation booked.
Great. And that it will include how to get on a TEDx stage, or do you guarantee TEDx placement?
That does depend on what your book is, what your
Okay.
situation is, the project. Yeah, yeah. But we do, it is one of our services.
Awesome. Awesome. Danielle, so do you have a lead magnet of sort or a free giveaway for people to get in touch with you?
So not a lead magnet necessarily, but we do offer those free consultations. So you're able to go on over, you have a chat with our lead strategist, and we can help figure out what the best plan would be for you.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I think we've covered some great information today. And the ghost writing is pretty much, we do it all for you. Just take the ideas out of your head, put it to paper, put pen to paper, and get it executed. The key is execution. And Thomas Edison's had a great quote. It's 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. And
Mm.
you do the perspiring for them. They may be inspired, but you do you perspire. You actually take care of all this so they have the result of their name on a book, a best-selling book, and possible TED Talks, possible podcast interviews, and a spot on Authors on Mission. And I was honored to be on your show.
That is true. That is true. And I do agree with you. You need to actually put the work in. It doesn't start if you just have an idea, and it would be nice to have a book one day. I mean, take the first steps. If you're too busy, if you don't think you're a good writer, which I believe is a myth, but just then go ahead and find someone to be on your team and help you get there. That's what we're here for.
Got it. Got it. Well, Danielle, thank you for your time today.
Yeah.
And we will certainly have you back in the future. No question. I love your contributions, and keep up the digital nomad lifestyle.
Yeah, always enjoy that. I believe you're in Thailand right now yourself, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm living my dream life. Was in Vegas for a few years because of the pandemic, and then returned to my home. I consider Thailand home now. This is it. Now I still have the American accent. It's hard to shake, but maybe one day I'll be speaking with a Thai accent. You never know.
Hey, that's incredible though. And we should one on the next show we'll cross compare and make a list of which places we've been to together or not. Like
Got
that.
it. Got it. Well, Danielle, thank you for your time today. This has been the Amazing Authority, Danielle Hutchinson. Look her up on authorsonmission.com. Guys, we'll see you in the next show. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to mitchcarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.